Part 20. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 191. Chapter 191, 191, Thunder Tribulation. Are you crazy? I have no grudges in the past and no grudges these days. Why are you staring at me? He had not seen Shen Yun nearby. She was almost going crazy after being tortured by Shen Yun's sword energy. She finally got rid of the crazy woman in the coffin, but now she is entangled again. Who says there is no hatred? A murderer must pay for his own life. After Shen Yun finished speaking, he approached directly. Once a swordsman approaches someone, the result is predictable. The tip of the sword pointed at Shui Yi's aorta, and he looked at Shui Yi lying on the ground covered in blood. Shen Yun was indescribably relaxed. The person lying in the coffin is your wife. When you did it, she was not dead yet. You did it very harshly, and you sent her away in one go. If you get promoted and make a fortune, you will realize your self-improvement in life, Shen Yun said mockingly. What are you talking about? I just want to investigate the cause of my wife's death. Shui Yi lay down and did not dare to move, but it could not stop him from continuing to speak harshly. Go on and let me see what other explanations you can come up with. You did what happened over there in the West Village, right? I've been looking for this dagger for a long time. It turned out to be sealed. I asked where it was hidden. I didn't expect that the most dangerous place is the safest place. It's hidden. Fine. Chen Yun kicked away the dagger full of yin energy with his feet. If this thing was placed in the hands of a ghost cultivator, it would definitely be a magic weapon, but Shui Yi is an ordinary person. If this thing doesn't need to be sealed with a formation, it is estimated that he himself will be killed by himself. Have you been staring at me? Shui Yi's face changed, and his gloomy eyes looked directly at Shen Yun. Of course, I'm just waiting to catch you by the pigtails. How about killing my father-in-law and harming my wife? I thought that everything I did was silent. If you don't want others to know, you can't do it unless you don't do it. Chen Yun directly took out the net and tied the person up. Hearing Shen Yun's words, Shui Yi's face changed again and again, as ugly as if he had swallowed a fly. Even so, you can't do anything to me. Everything depends on evidence. In this country, even if you are very powerful, you can't do it privately. Shui Yi seemed to have thought of something, gritted his teeth and said to Shen Yun. Evidence, look at this. Shen Yun planned to make him understand. Just when he saw something was wrong outside, he took out the photo stone he had just found from the space. This thing is easier to use than a camera. Young master, you captured Shui Yi's actions just now so softly and clearly that even the blood gushing out was clearly visible. Shui Yi, who was underground, looked at Shen Yun's movements and seemed to have finally been choked. Shen Yun took the phone and called Yan Han directly. Shui Yi would definitely not be able to escape with what he did now, but what he just took out from his wife's body should be Danshan. If you read it correctly, the person lying in the coffin has some traces of aura, but as the person dies, the aura begins to slowly dissipate. Such a person will be much more difficult to deal with if he uses this vaginal dagger for a while. There is also Danshan. I didn't expect that he would start doing this before he joined the research institute. His wife was the first person to be killed. You are really cruel, no matter who you are. Yan Han heard Shen Yun's call. Although it was already very late, he and his people came over very quickly. Everyone was speechless when they saw the scene inside the coffin. It's my fault. During this period, the supervision on him has been relaxed. Yan Han first reflected on himself. Shen Yun didn't say anything to comfort him. After all, he had warned Shui Yi that he had a problem years ago. He had come here twice today, but he still didn't see the person staring at him. It seemed that Yan Han and the others didn't think the other party was there. What's the problem? If we reduce the intensity of observation, it will cost lives. but it was only this time that we could catch the person directly. A few people took Shui away directly, leaving a few people behind to handle the rest. What should I do with this dagger? Shen Yun kicked the dagger lying underneath. It had been affixed with an exorcism charm by himself, and the yin energy on it seemed to have been sealed. Destroy it directly. If such a thing is kept and used by someone with intentions, the gain will outweigh the loss, Yan Han decided quickly. Shen Yun also felt that it was better to destroy this thing. However, the thing in front of you is not an ordinary dagger that can be melted directly. The yin qi on it must be removed before proceeding to the next step. Besides, this thing does not look like a product of today. If it were a cultivator in the past, if it is refined by someone else, it cannot be simply melted. In this case, I will take the things back and deal with them, Shen Yun said directly. Okay, after processing, we need to bring it to the department to report it, Yan Han said businesslike. Okay, let's check Shui carefully. I'm afraid he is not that simple. By the way, he is just an ordinary person now, so you can keep an eye on him. Chen Yun asked casually. Yan Han was silent for a moment. You can watch it, the matter has been investigated clearly, and any results will be dealt with in accordance with the law. Shen Yun nodded. Feel the spiritual energy fluctuations in your body. Shen Yun quickly packed up the dagger and said goodbye to Yan Han. Stepping on the flying sword, he flew directly towards the uninhabited mountainous area in his memory. In the blink of an eye, Shen Yun appeared in the deserted mountains thousands of miles away. Just after Shen Yun subdued Shui Yi, he felt the looseness of his realm. Thinking of the advancement of Jindan mentioned in the ancient space books, Shen Yun did not dare to advance in the capital city. He was afraid that others would mistakenly enter the place where he was promoted and trap him, which would harm him. Other people. Is also afraid that he will be tricked when he is weak during the promotion, so it is safer to advance in an uninhabited mountain range. When the promotion is completed, he can also hide in the space. Shen Yun chose a bare mountain top and quickly started to set up the formation while suppressing his cultivation. Looking at the rapidly changing sky, Shen Yun insisted on drawing talisman and setting up the formation every day, and the effect was shown. At this time, his mind was calm and his hands were not shaking. He has set up a total of 6 layers of defensive formations for himself, plus the defensive magic weapon he carries. Shen Yun felt as if he had made a turtle shell for himself. However, thinking about the power of thunder that destroyed the sky and destroyed the earth in the records, Shen Yun still did not dare to be careless. Thinking about it for a while, he took out a few lightning rod-like things from the space. This was an idea that Chen Yun came up with when he was practicing metal spells. I don't know if it will be useful now. Let's show it out first. Don't wait until you are struck by lightning and go crazy before you block it. Hearing the muffled sound coming from above, Shen Yun took out the Qingfeng sword and put it on his knees. Take a deep breath and prepare yourself for the coming of thunder. Just relying on the introduction in ancient books, Shen Yun could not intuitively feel how powerful the thunder disaster was. Even though she felt that she had made sufficient preparations, she was still frightened by the first lightning that was thicker than the top of the mountain. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 192. Chapter 192, 192, Pill Formation. I've never seen anything like this. Shen Yun looked at the broken defensive formation and carefully pressed down his raised hair. This first time, although he stood up with only his hair and was not injured, the defensive array he had set up was shattered. If he wanted to set up another one, it was too late. Shen Yun could only use his spiritual energy to resist. After all, what happened next? There are also 8 mines. Shen Yun was not given time to react. One after another, first the lightning rod next to him was knocked down, and then the defensive magic weapon on Shen Yun's body. With the last thunder left, Shen Yun's spiritual energy was exhausted. He took out the spirit-boosting pill from the space and stuffed it into his mouth. Seeing the little jumping dog that came out as he got the thing, Chen Yun anxiously wanted to stuff it back, otherwise Tian Li was not joking, it wouldn't care you are innocent, as long as the photos here are correct. Unexpectedly, he didn't know that he hadn't picked it up yet when he saw the little jumping dog rushing towards the thunder in the sky. You can't choose now if you want to die. You are so used to it that you don't know how thick the sky is, Shen Yunyi shouted, getting up and thinking about getting the little Banky into the space before it encountered thunder and lightning. Thunder, humans, and eggs were all very fast. As a result, Shen Yun was struck by lightning and was knocked directly to the ground. Little Banky was bathed in thunder in the sky. It's because I don't know how high the sky is and how high it is. Shen Yun couldn't care about it anymore. Looking at the blood on his body that had cracked and flowed out again, he tried hard to repair it with spiritual energy to offset the effect of thunder and lightning on himself. In the sky above Shen Yun, without paying attention, changes were quietly taking place. But Shen Yun couldn't control it now. After the last thunder and lightning, Shen Yun was trying hard to control the spiritual energy in his body to form a golden elixir. If the golden elixir failed, he would have suffered this lightning disaster in vain, and he would not be able to do so in the future. There will be the possibility of improving one's cultivation level again. Speedily running his body's spiritual energy, feeling the crazy influx of spiritual energy from the outside world, Shen Yun quickly compressed the spiritual energy with his spiritual consciousness. If you were a step slower, you would be burst by the spiritual energy pouring in from the outside. Ignoring the trauma that was still bleeding, Shen Yun used his spiritual consciousness to the extreme. Shen Yun felt that all the energy in his body was about to be exhausted, so he compressed the more and more spiritual energy in his danshan into elixirs. Looking at the round and slowly rotating golden elixirs in his body, Shen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. It's done. Only then did she have the time to open her eyes and see if the little jumper had turned into a roasted bird egg. Shishi, 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 a familiar voice sounded, and Shen Yun breathed a sigh of relief. It must not be cooked yet. If it is impossible to make any sound again. Oh no, this voice didn't come from inside my head. Sensing this, Shen Yun immediately looked in the direction of the voice. I saw a fluffy yellow chick standing on the only remaining stone next to me, looking at me with its head tilted. Are you a little jumper? Shen Yun asked tentatively. Respondus. Shen Yun actually understood this cry. It said it was a small jumper. The mighty and domineering phoenix that he imagined was no different from a chicken when he was young. This made Shen Yun feel a little disappointed. The little chicken looked at Shen Yun and turned around beautifully to show Shen Yun. It kept chirping, calling me in my mind to look at it. Shen Yun looked at it for a long time but couldn't tell any difference between it and a newborn chick. Seeing that it almost jumped and fell, Shen Yun caught it with his hand. Originally, the hill I chose was not too small, but after several lightning strikes, all the surrounding areas were trampled. If this were in the city, I don't know what would happen. Hand into the space, he changed out of his tattered clothes. The wounds that were originally burned by lightning were all healed after his golden elixir was formed. Feel the surging spiritual energy in your body, and then feel the increasingly dense spiritual energy in the space. Shen Yun began to consolidate his realm directly in the space. After the realm was consolidated, Shen Yun did not stay here longer. There was still something to do in the capital. After being struck by lightning for a day outside, and it took a long time to form the pill, Shen Yun came out 3 times in a row. Oh my god! Without wasting a moment, Shen Yun got out of the space, took away his lightning rod, and then restored the entire mountaintop to its original state. Shen Yun walked directly towards the capital with his sword. Hurry up to the last day, hand in the paper you prepared, and then continue to attend classes every day. At night, Shen Yun put all the cultivation matters aside and began to concentrate on refining the elixir. His cultivation level was upgraded to the golden elixir, and his consciousness was also upgraded. Now it is enough to practice the vitality elixir. 3 of them need to be refined. Every old spiritual plant in Shen Yun's space is very precious. She did not refine it with the older one at the beginning, but practiced with the lower age one first. After forming a conditioned reflex in his mind, Shen Yun picked the few spiritual plants that were more than 5,000 years old. Although the refining process was slow, it was relatively smooth. Shen Yun got 5 high-grade vitality pills, 2 medium-grade pills, and 7 low-grade pills. Although the best elixir did not appear, Shen Yun was still very satisfied with the result. As expected, she spent nearly 10 nights refining it in space. As expected, it was just like solving a problem. More practice still produced results. After sorting and storing the elixirs of several qualities, Shen Yun planned to go home this weekend and deliver the elixirs back. The matter of the elixir was settled, and Shen Yun was relieved. At least Shen Jian's life was saved for the time being. Maybe he would wake up by himself later without refining the 9 turns resurrection pill. This was never certain. When he went out in the morning, Shen Yun felt that his mood was much better. When he arrived at school, he heard the teacher said that the thesis was passed and he only needed to defend it with the graduates. Shen Yun was even happier. All these things were done. You can concentrate on practicing and improving your strength. Chen Yun, Shui Yi's matter has been investigated clearly. He has recruited everything. This is the information. Take a look. Shen Yun was out of school that day and happened to meet Yan Han, who was leaving the evening shift. He handed over the information in his hand. Come over. You did things very quickly this time. Shen Yun was a little surprised. Don't be too happy too early. Although he was recruited, there are still many things that we have not investigated. This is the trouble now. The things he did should be related to other forces. We have contacted people in the past few days and are investigating. Well, there has been no result yet. Yan Han explained it to Shen Yun in advance. Oh, is that so? Let me look at the information first and let me know if I have any questions. Shui Yi was arrested by himself. He had met this person in the research institute in his previous life, and it was his suggestion that killed him in the end. About him you must understand the matter clearly. Maybe you can find information about the institute in it. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 193. Chapter 193, 193, Goo Insect. Looking through the information, Shui Yi readily admitted the murder. After all, Shen Yun had evidence in his hands, so he had no choice but to deny it. In addition, he also took the initiative to explain where he got these things. His parents died young and he lived in his hometown when he was young. His hometown is on the southern border. The year his parents passed away, he had a very difficult time, but suddenly someone came along who could help his parents avenge him. Then these methods and tools were given to them. Later, he was brought to live in the capital city by his relatives. He had been living peacefully for so many years, but last year he suddenly received a message from someone asking him to do something, which was to go to the West Village to pick up something. We haven't contacted him for so many years, and his life has become relatively peaceful. He didn't want to do this at first, but a poisonous insect was put into his body. Seeing this, Shen Yun was confused for a moment, and then saw a line of small words below. Yes, it is the legendary Goo insect that can control people. Being controlled, he could only agree to help the other party, but he felt that there was still a certain risk in doing this by himself, so he instructed Lao He to do this. When he got the things back, he planned to give them to the other party, but he never knew how to contact the other party, so the things were kept at his home. Shen Yun read it from beginning to end and intuitively had a lot of doubts. After tidying up, he went straight over and knocked on the cold door. "I didn't disturb you so late, did I?" Shen Yun asked, looking at Yan Han, who opened the door. "It's okay, come in." Yan Han opened the courtyard door directly. "Do you have any questions?" Yan Han asked straight to the point. "I just want to know who is the person coming to look for him behind the scenes," Shen Yun asked directly. He didn't know this himself. He said that every time the person came to look for him, he covered his face tightly. He didn't see what he looked like. When he was a child, he didn't feel anything wrong. When he grew up, he felt something was wrong. Then he didn't say why he wanted to harm Lao He and his wife. Shen Yun continued to ask. "Lao He is the enemy who killed his parents. He didn't want to kill Lao He, but he didn't know that this thing was so powerful. As for her wife, he suspected that she was with the mysterious person, and his wife was pregnant with, although he had a child, he himself was sterile. We have confirmed this and performed an autopsy on the body, which is indeed what he said. However, this person has a very good psychological quality. What he said is true and what is false. Some of them can be found out through investigation, but some of them are dead without any treatment. That means the clues are now gone as far as him." Shen Yun rubbed his forehead. "The current situation is like this. We are investigating, but nothing has been found. We are also looking to see if there is anyone who is good at controlling goo insects, so that we can see if his body is infected by goo insects as he said. It's under control." He said that the cold here was a little impatient. There was too little information. Shui could only tell the height and shape of the person who came to him. As for whether he was disguised, he was not sure. Why would he want to say these things out? He is not afraid that the person who controls him will directly kill him with poisonous insects. Generally, people who care about their own lives cannot be so straightforward. The reason he gave was that if he confessed and helped arrest the person, the punishment would be reduced. If the penalty is reduced, it will at best change from death to imprisonment for life. Do you think it's possible that this person is himself and that he made all this up? Chen Yun thought about this person's previous status in the research institute. Others immediately agreed to a small suggestion. If he didn't have status, who would care about his words? From this point of view, this person is worth studying. Our people have set off to his hometown to investigate. This means that there is no progress yet. If it doesn't work, just search him directly. He can be killed directly, so you don't have to guess and search," Shen Yun said angrily. Yan Han glanced at Shen Yun and said, "Do you want to be the department's first negative example? He has been arrested. He has done so many things and he will definitely not be able to escape. It just took a little time to investigate. We can afford to wait. Okay, you guys can investigate slowly, but I may have some ways to deal with the goo insects. You wait for 2 days, and I will study it first." Shen Yun came over and asked for a long time, with more doubts and speculations in his heart, and put the file. He left it to Yan Han and jumped directly along the courtyard wall into his own courtyard without staying any longer. The formation was activated for a moment, and then was controlled by Shen Yun. She returned to the space and continued to refine pills. She remembered that she saw an insect-repelling pill in the space, which was for some demonic insects and insect-like monsters. She thought there were not many goo insects like this one, so Shen Yun planned to practice one and give it a try. This elixir is easy to refine, but the taste is not very good. Shen Yun finished practicing the next day. When school was over in the evening, Shen Yun didn't go home and went directly to the place where special prisoners were detained. When I came here, I realized that the management here was even stricter. It took Shen Yun all day long to get in. When Shen Yun arrived, Yan Han and the others, who had greeted him in advance, also came. This medicine is designed to deal with poisonous insects, let's try it. Try it? Anyway, he said he is cooperating now, but he is unwilling to reveal anything else, which makes me wonder if he is making up all these things. Yan Han motioned to Shen Yun to take the medicine directly. Shen Yun didn't waste any more words. Looking at Shui Yi, who couldn't control his hands and feet, he directly put the elixir into an open bottle, gave Shui Yi a sniff first, and then placed it directly on the table in front of him. Let's wait outside the glass first, lest the goo bugs target us again. Shen Yun directly called everyone out. Several people hid outside the glass and looked at Shui Yi inside. When will this pill take effect? Li Ming asked while holding a machine nearby to record. It's working now. It depends on how long the goo worm inside can endure the temptation. Shen Yun stared inside and said. It smells so bad, I'm sure I won't be able to hold on for long, Li Ming said confidently. Let's wait and see, Yan Han said in a deep voice, and then stopped making any sound, and the people around him also stopped saying anything. After waiting for half the payment, Shen Yun praised this goo insect for being so patient. Look what's going on his face, Li Ming next to him exclaimed. Everyone also noticed something was wrong with Shui Yi inside at the same time. He looked extremely painful, but he was trying his best to control something. There are also irregular bulges moving on the face, and the people outside can't help but get goosebumps. Several people held their breath and took a breath of air as they looked at the thing that slowly came out of Shui Yi's orifice. Boss, you hold the camera for me, I'm going to vomit. Seeing this scene, Li Ming, who had always been relatively calm, just handed the machine to Yan Han and ran away. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 194. Chapter 194, 194, Certain Death. Shen Yun held back his nausea and watched the bugs that ran out of Shui Yi's body go directly into the jar. Shen Yun originally planned to close the lid directly, but looking at Shui Yi's expression became even more painful. Don't worry, there's still something going on inside. Shen Yun stopped the person who wanted to go in. Everyone stopped and continued to look at the scene inside. Shui Yi's expression now was a bit unbelievable. Unlike the uncomfortable expression on his face just now, his whole body began to tremble. He obviously didn't expect that the medicine Shen Yun gave him had such a powerful effect, and it was so powerful that it directly revealed his hidden trump card. Shui Yi inside was already in pain and started to roar. There were several people with different faces standing outside. Shen Yun, what kind of medicine are you holding? It's so powerful. We all just smelled a little. Are you okay? After vomiting, Li Minju returned to his own medicine. The job continues as it was just now. It's okay, unless you also have such bugs on your body. Shen Yun was very calm. This medicine is of no use to humans. It just smells bad. It has such a great effect on bugs. Li Ming thought about the bug that just appeared on Shui Yi's body and trembled for a moment. There must not be one. How could there be such a bug on my body? If you have any doubts about this matter, then when we have time, we will give you this one. Let's take a look at the situation inside, Shen Yun said nonchalantly. Anyway, this kind of medicine is very simple to practice. Li Ming heard Shen Yun say this, and his hand holding the camera almost became unsteady. Looking at Shui Yi, whose face was covered with blood, he took a deep breath and said, "What's his condition? He's not going to die. He can't die." Looking at him like this, I guess what he said about being controlled by goo insects is also false. Maybe he himself is the one who controls goo insects, Shen Yun said thoughtfully. Does she know these things? Many, but think about it, the cultivation of goo insects relies on devouring each other. Just now, one kind has crawled out of his body, and now it looks like another one is about to come out. There is only one possibility, that is, both the mother and child goo are in him. The few people were silent, looking at the slender snake that slowly appeared. Looking at the head, they knew it was a highly venomous snake. Look at Shui Yi, who is as weak as a man. Shen Yun doesn't know how other people feel, but Shen Yun feels that Shui Yi is really a ruthless person and a real lunatic. Most people can't do it. Feeding goo worms with your own flesh and blood. Shen Yun looked at the little snake slowly crawling into the bottle, and directly closed the mouth of the bottle with his consciousness. That's enough. How to deal with this snake? Yan Han asked curiously as he watched Shen Yun's movements. Okay, this will die automatically in 2 days. This medicine is specifically designed to deal with insects. Although this is a snake, it has already turned into a goo when it is refined and fed, so the result will be the same. After Chen Yun finished speaking, he opened the door and walked in. Looking at the struggling little snake inside, Shen Yun directly sealed 2 more layers of exorcism talismans. Is he okay like this? Why do I feel like he is going to die? Now that the goo insect has been taken out, everyone has time to go over and check on Shui Yi's condition. It's not the feeling, it's the speed. Generally, the natal goo insect is connected to the life of its owner. This snake will die in 2 days, so he will not live long. Chen Yun glanced over there and said, who are you and why can you deal with my goo insects? Shui Yi now feels that all the energy in his body has been sucked back. Just now, he spent a lot of money to prevent the natal goo from leaving. Unexpectedly, he still can't keep him. It is indeed a greedy poisonous snake, but it can't help it this time. Alright. Who is he? Of course he is someone who punishes and eliminates evil, Li Ming said smoothly. They are just a bunch of hypocrites. If I make a mistake now, come here to find me. When my parents were killed, why didn't you take care of it? If no one took care of it, I wouldn't be like this. It's all because of you people who tell lies, Shui Yi said hysterically, looking at the group of people around him with hatred in his eyes. Your tragedy is not the reason for you to harm others, just like your wife. If she does something wrong, there will be laws to control her, instead of you deciding her life or death based on your own preferences. Shen Yun looked at him like this. And there is no sympathy. Anyway, you are the victors now. It's not up to you to decide what happens, Shui Yi said mockingly. Shen Yun was not interested in saying anything to a dying person or an enemy. The moment she caught him, she treated him as dead. Of course, he had to die too. What do you want to ask? Let's see if I can pry open his mouth. I'll go out first. Shen Yun put away the bottle containing the poisonous insects and walked directly outside. After waiting outside for half their pay, Yan Han and the others came out. He was unwilling to say anything, so we can only investigate, but I think the mysterious person he mentioned may not exist, and he did all these things himself. After all, he is an employee of a large factory. He is not a person who lives alone. Everything about his life can definitely be investigated. Since there is such a thing, it will definitely leave traces, but it will take more time to investigate, Shen Yun thought. After thinking about it, he said, well, I will let people continue to investigate. The harm of goo insects is huge. If we don't investigate clearly the ins and outs, they will be controlled in the future without even knowing it. Yan Han didn't think that the person was going to die, so there was no need to investigate. Okay, then I won't waste your time here. I'm going back first. I'll take this thing back and deal with it. Shen Yun shook the bottle in his hand and walked directly outside. He passed by Fu Wen's location and looked at him. With a gray aura all over his body and first aid tubes inserted all over his body, he paused and walked directly outside. Going out, he walked straight towards Baiyun village with his sword. Tomorrow was the weekend, and Shen Yun was planning to go back. The moonlight was just right tonight, making it suitable for traveling. It was already midnight when he got home. Shen Yun landed directly at the door of the old house and saw that the spirit gathering array in the yard was still running rapidly. There should be people practicing in the room. Shen Yun was noticed as soon as he walked into the courtyard. Shen Yun looked at Shen Hong walking out of Shen Jian's room and called out, "Third brother, are you still awake?" "Yun Yun, why did you come back in the middle of the night?" Only then did Shen Hong see clearly that it was Shen Yun standing under the moonlight. "The vitality pill is ready, I'll send it back to Shen Jian." "You've practiced. You've advanced," Shen Hong's voice couldn't hide the joy. At this time, Shen Kuliang also came out wearing clothes. "Yun Yun, why are you back?" He rubbed his eyes and looked at the granddaughter who looked like a fairy under the moonlight, a little in disbelief. "Grandpa, I have made a kind of elixir in this way and sent it back specially." Shen Hong happily pulled Shen Kuliang and said in a low voice. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 195. Chapter 195, 195, The Old Man's Thoughts. Really, the old man took 2 steps forward and took Shen Yun's hand and asked. "Really, are you sending it back in the middle of the night? Let's go and give it to Shen Jian." Shen Yun took out the 3 high-quality vitality pills that had been packaged. The 2 of them saw that the elixir in the jade bottle was glowing like a life-saving straw. "Hurry up!" Several people didn't care about talking in the yard and walked directly towards Shen Jian's room. Tonight, Shen Hong came for a massage and stayed overnight. Now they entered the room, except for Shen Jian who was lying down. Just Shen Yun and the 3 of them. Shen Yun checked Shen Jian first. He is in very good condition, and his muscles are well maintained. He has been practicing qi for a few days. "Are you very diligent in sending him spiritual energy?" Shen Yun asked while watching. "This is not due to me alone. The whole family has joined in. After practicing every day, they have come to help Shen Jian in his cultivation. That's why his cultivation speed is so fast. However, it is not without gains when we help him. Every time if we exhaust our spiritual energy and practice again, our cultivation speed will be faster," Shen Hong said in detail. Shen Yun did not expect this effect, but it is a good thing. Then you will continue to do this in the future, but as your cultivation level increases, the amount of spiritual energy will increase, and you cannot give Shen Jian too much spiritual energy. His body now stores there is a limit to spiritual energy. Only when the level is high can you absorb more spiritual energy, Shen Yun said carefully to the 2 people next to him. "Well, we know, we will talk about this with others." Shen Hong nodded and carefully wrote down every word Shen Yun said. "There are 3 pills here. Take 1 today, the 2nd pill in 3 days, and the 3rd pill in 7 days." Shen Yun poured out a pill and explained it carefully. "Okay, I've written it down." Shen Yun opened Shen Jian's mouth and stuffed the medicine in. "Water," Shen Yunyi said, and Shen Hong handed over the water he had prepared. Shen Yun used his skills to feed the water directly into the water. The pill melted when it came into contact with water and had already entered Shen Jian's stomach. After taking the medicine, you can ask more family members to come over and talk to him. I read the information and found that this can awaken the subconscious mind in the brain, so that the person may wake up without waiting for the next medicine. "Okay, we'll come over here whenever we have nothing to do." When Shen Kuliang heard what Shen Yun said, he immediately agreed. "Okay, third brother, I'll keep this medicine for you." Shen Yun directly handed over the jade bottle in his hand. "Good. So, why are you back so late at night? There will be no class tomorrow." Shen Kuliang saw that Shen Jian was busy with his affairs and became concerned about Shen Yun's affairs. "I came back with a sword." Shen Yun took out his Qingfeng sword and showed it to the 2 of them. This was the first time for the 2 of them to see Qingfeng up close. "This is the legendary sword that can take immortals to the sky and escape from the earth?" Shen Kuliang asked curiously. "Yes, if third brother and the others practice swordsmanship, they can also learn to fly with a sword after building the foundation, but there are also other magical weapons that can fly. Both of them listened to Shen Yun's words with longing on their faces, although Shen Kuliang he is old and can no longer fly, but when he thinks about the son of his family in the future, he is filled with longing. Isn't this very draining of spiritual energy? It's so late, go and have a rest. Shen Kuliang ignored his curiosity and quickly urged Shen Yun to go to bed. Grandpa, I don't have to sleep at my current level. I'll watch Shen Jian here all night. You can go and have some rest first. I won't go to class tomorrow and won't go back until tomorrow night. Flying with a sword during the day requires a very high talent. If you avoid people's sight, you will be blown to pieces by the wind, but there is no need to fly so high at night. You really don't need to sleep, Shen Kuliang asked doubtfully. Of course. Shen Yun nodded affirmatively. Okay, then I'll go back first. This cultivation of immortality is really amazing. You don't even have to sleep. It takes half as much time as others. If you want to do something now, it will be quick, Shen Kuliang muttered with. Shen Yun thought about how the old man was calm when he heard anything before, and thought he wasn't curious about this matter, but he didn't know that he was actually curious and muttering to himself. Thank you for your hard work. Shen Jian sat silently on the edge of the bed and said this to Shen Yun only half the time. No matter how polite you are, we are all brothers and sisters. Shen Yun waved her hand. Since she promised to save people, she was not one to break her promise. Shen Hong finally swallowed what he wanted to say. If you have anything to do in the future, just say it. Although my brother is not very capable, he can still do the work. Shen Hong didn't know how to repay Shen Yun. After cultivating, he knew that every time he was promoted, very sleepy. The last time I saw Shen Yun, she couldn't make elixirs yet. She had been upgraded to the golden elixir just a short time ago. He knew that it was very difficult to upgrade to a small realm, let alone such a large realm. She must have put in a lot of effort. The effort was successful. Don't worry, I'll definitely let you do anything in the future. Shen Yun nodded. If you have any questions about cultivation, you can tell me and I'll tell you what I know. There is still half the night, and it is not appropriate for Shen Yun to enter the space to practice. It would be a good choice to talk about his practice experience. Shen Hong did not remain silent as before. He directly asked all the problems he and his family encountered in practicing Zhang. Simply, Shen Yun has read a lot of jade slips, so he can answer them now. When the sky was getting brighter and he heard the sounds outside, Shen Yun stretched and walked out. Hey, Yun Yun, when did you come back? Outside was the ant who woke up early in the morning. Auntie, good morning. I came back yesterday and saw that you were all asleep, so I didn't disturb you. Shen Yun greeted the person immediately when he saw him. Yun Yun, hurry up and eat. Yang Xiaoko also came out at this time. She heard the old man talking about Shen Yun's return last night, so she got up early in the morning to cook. Although Shen Yun no longer needed to eat, Shen Yun still did not refuse the old man's wishes. After dinner, I greeted those who got up at home, and then went straight out and walked towards the mountain. The mist in the mountains has not dispersed yet, and the spiritual energy is floating in the mist, making the mountains and forests look as beautiful as a fairyland. Shen Liman and others got up and started repairing in the courtyard. Shen Yun walked to the door and the people inside noticed him. Oh, Yun Yun is back. Liman, hurry up and cook some more food. Yang Ken saw Shen Yun outside the door, and immediately walked over excitedly, not forgetting to greet Shen Liman on the side to do something. No, I've eaten at the old house. Shen Yun quickly waved his hand to stop Shen Liman's actions. When did you get home? How many days will you stay at home? Yang Ken heard that Shen Yun had finished eating, and immediately a lot of questions came to Shen Yun. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, The fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 196. Chapter 196, 196, Teaching Magic. I arrived home at midnight last night and went over to see Shenjian. I thought you should go to bed and not wake up my little brother again, so I didn't come up. I'm leaving tonight. I have class tomorrow, so I can't delay it. Chen Yun explained Yang Kankan carefully. Yang Kankan couldn't help but look a little disappointed when he heard that Shen Yun could only stay at home for one day, but he thought that he would have more time than last time when he was in a hurry, and he felt a little better. Mom made you some clothes for spring. You can try them on to see if they fit you. If they don't fit, I'll have them altered at home today. I originally planned to send them to you, but they're just in time. Yang Kankan didn't care about talking to Shen Yun. After speaking, he directly took the person and walked towards the room. When he arrived in the room, Yang Kankan took out a large pile of clothes. Shen Yun thought there were only 1 or 2 pieces, but now it was obvious that there were more clothes. Why did you do so many? Shen Yun asked in surprise. It's not like I made some money before and after the new year. The boys in the family have clothes to wear. You are the only girl in the family who is still going to school outside. You can't wear tattered clothes. Although the clothes made at home are not as good looking as those bought outside, but they are all made of soft fabrics and are comfortable to wear, Yang Kankan said while getting ready to change Shen Yun's clothes. Shen Yunke left home not long ago, and his figure has not changed much. His clothes fit just right. Fortunately, my clothes are suitable. There is no need to change. It's just that you seem to have lost weight in the past few days at school. You need to eat more when you go back. I forgot to give you money when I left last time. You can take this. When you arrive, don't be reluctant to eat at school. Although your dad's business is not as good as during the Chinese New Year, it is much better than farming at home. They occasionally go to the city now, and their business is still good. The family is rich. Yang Kankan. I packed my things and stuffed some money into them. Shen Yun looked at a whole pile of 10 yuan items, estimated to cost several hundred yuan. Mom, I can't spend so much money, and I'm not losing weight now. It's just because of cultivation that all the dirt in my body has been excreted. The flesh is firmer, so it looks like I've lost weight. It's better to go out than at home, so it's a good thing to have more money with you. Speaking of this thing that eliminates filth, I really have a deep understanding of it. After practicing every day, I feel a layer of ash on my body, and it smells very bad. If your father and others didn't have the same situation, I would have thought I was sick. Yang Kankan said with a smile, because this matter caused a lot of mistakes. When the body absorbs spiritual energy, it will remove the dirt and impurities from the body. When you advance to a higher level in the future, your body will basically be free of these things, and you won't have such troubles by then. By the way, I will teach you a little spell later. It is not convenient to take a bath today. Once you know this little spell, cleaning will be much easier. Chen Yun thought of the cleaning technique. Such a small spell can not only practice the use of spiritual energy, but also do housework. It can be said to be a must-have at home. Thinking of this, Shen Yun thought of a few more spells in his mind. They were simple and easy to use, and more suitable for members of the Shen family who had just entered the bottom level of cultivation. After staying at home for a while, Shen Yun discussed this idea with his parents. The Shen family has basically entered the first level of Qi training. As soon as Shen Yun said this, they proposed to go down to the old house to learn together. A few people walked directly towards the old house with their little brother in their arms. By this time, all the people in the old house had gotten up. Those who practiced were practicing and those who were working. The division of labor was very clear. As soon as Shen Yun said he wanted to teach them a little magic, everyone became interested and stopped working. They all gathered in the backyard to learn. There are those who are talented and learn quickly, and of course there are those who are not talented. Shen Yun only teaches a cleaning technique in one day, and then the water ball and fireball technique. Let's stop teaching here today. If you don't know how to teach me later, I'll ask you for advice. When it got dark, Shen Yun announced that today's teaching activities were over. Okay, everyone agreed, and then quickly pulled a few students to continue studying, and they were very motivated to study. Shen Yun had dinner at home and then left Baiyun village with the things packed by his family. On the way, he packed the things directly into the space. Shen Yun speeded up and rushed towards the capital city. The advantage of high-altitude racing is that the road conditions are good, there is no traffic jam, and you don't have to worry about the difficulty of walking. As long as you avoid the birds in the sky along the way, you can have a smooth journey. So it was only after 9 o'clock when Shen Yun arrived in Beijing. Are you off work? As soon as Shen Yun stopped at the door, he encountered the severe cold next door. No, pack your things and go on a business trip. There was a strange movement of spiritual energy in the Qingxi Mountains a few days ago. The weather was abnormal. I suspect there is a new spiritual energy. There has been no movement in the past 2 days. I'll go take a look. Yan Han. He said something casually and walked towards the room. Shen Yun looked at his back. How many days ago did Qingxi go? Aura changes. Weather changes. Which mountain range were you in when you advanced to Jindan? Shen Yun thought about the direction. It seemed to be the direction of Qingxi. Then the movement was not caused by oneself, right? Shen Yun stood at the door and thought carefully. Why don't you go in? What are you thinking about here? It seems that I was responsible for that strange movement a few days ago. I was promoted there and was struck by lightning 9 times, Shen Yun said with a smile. Yan Han stopped walking forward. You were struck by lightning 9 times. Did you go to the doctor? How did you get back and forth in a few days? Yan Han looked Shen Yun up and down, wondering if she was bragging. I'm fine. I haven't seen a doctor. Although I was hacked, I'm fine. As for how to get back and forth, of course I have my own method. You will know it when you get to the foundation. Chen Yun said seriously. This statement was more like bragging, but Yan Han knew that Shen Yun was not such an unreliable person. When did you go there? Yan Han continued to ask. Shen Yun directly told the time of that day, the time of thunder and lightning, and the time of his return. Okay, let me check again. After saying that, he didn't leave. He went back to the room and started making phone calls. Shen Yun then returned directly to his home. After taking out all the clothes and food he had brought at home and putting them away, Shen Yun went straight into the space and continued to practice. He had not had time to practice alchemy these days, so he still had to continue practicing swordsmanship. When Shen Yun got up early the next morning to go to school, he saw Yan Han going out next door. It seemed that he had checked yesterday and was not on a business trip. Shen Yun felt quite guilty because he caused a group of people to investigate for such a long time. Shen Yun really didn't expect that he would be deep in the mountains. It will still be monitored. It seems that the current technology has gradually caught up. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 197. Chapter 197, 197, Cooperation. After investigation, it was indeed the 2 days you mentioned, but you are quite capable. The people who went to check said that the mountains over there collapsed. Yan Han sighed as soon as he saw Shen Yun. I knew there was a lot of movement, so I found a place where there was no one and no animals or plants. I was afraid that innocent things would be harmed. This can be regarded as a lesson for you. By the way, you can put a few lightning rods when forming the elixir, dear. If it works, it can reduce the pain you suffer, Shen Yun suggested. Okay, I will note this down, but I don't know who will form the elixir next. After all, not everyone is like you and can practice so fast. Yan Han nodded. I'll take this as a compliment from you. Okay, I won't waste your time anymore. I'm going to school first. Shen Yun said goodbye to Yan Han and walked directly towards the school. Because he graduated early in the semester he applied for, Shen Yun always had a lot more things to do than others. Almost every day after class, he would go to the next classroom to take another class. However, this situation will be much better after the graduation thesis defense. I finally caught you. You run so fast after class every day. I looked for you several times without stopping you, Hu Yan said, stopping Shen Yun who was about to leave after class. I've been busy answering questions these days. There are a lot of things going on. What's wrong? Is there anything you can do? Shen Yun slowed down in case Hu Yan beside him couldn't keep up. It seems that you have really forgotten about this matter. It has been a month or two. My aunt has prepared all the things that need to be prepared. She asked me to ask you when we have time to meet again. This speed is really fast. I have chased you several times but I still haven't caught up. If any boy wants to chase you, he will have to practice his speed hard, Hu Yan said with a smile while grabbing Shen Yun's arm. Oh, I've been so busy this time that I forgot about it. Do you think your aunt is free this weekend? Let's meet near the school. When Hu Yan said this, Shen Yun knew what was going on. She had already done this. I'm ready, but there are so many things going on during this period that I can't take care of this matter. I have already made an appointment with others. It really shouldn't be made to wait for such a long time. Okay, let me talk to my aunt when I get back, but to be honest, you are so elusive every day. I don't know how many handsome guys are watching behind you. After the matter was done, Hu Yan began to tease Shen Yun. No way, why didn't I notice it? Shen Yun is now smart. If someone is watching him from the side, he will definitely be able to detect it. These two people are not walking here. The most people can look at is this way. No one is staring here. Yes, you don't know. You are the flower of our class now. We discuss everything in private, but no one dares to come and disturb your study. Hu Yan looked at Shen Yun and said with a smile. Let's discuss it. Anyway, I don't plan to find a partner. As long as you don't talk in front of me, we can still be classmates. Shen Yun didn't care about others discussing him behind his back. How could a person live in this world without being people say it behind their backs? Yes, you are focusing on your career now. Finding a partner will only affect the speed of making money. Hu Yan agreed with Shen Yun's attitude. Shen Yun is not old, and he is indeed looking for a partner now. After graduation, if you go out and find a job, you will be more likely to meet like-minded people in the future. This is what her family told her. Yes, I won't tell you anymore. You and your aunt have made an appointment, and let me know again. I have classes next, so I won't be with you. Shen Yun finished speaking and was about to leave. The first class is not in this building. Fortunately, she is fast. Okay, let's go. Hu Yan let go and watched Shen Yun walk out quickly, at a speed no one else could. Putting aside the matter of Shen Yun's class for the time being, he made an appointment with Aunt Hu Yan to meet at the snack bar in front of the school on Sunday morning. Originally, Aunt Hu Yan proposed to go to the place where we had dinner last time, but Shen Yun disliked it because it was too far away and eating there would be too time-consuming, so she decided to stay here. Early on Sunday morning, Shen Yun went straight there without wasting time. Hu Yan and her aunt were already waiting there. There were a bunch of snacks on the table. Looking at the snack bar owner's slightly resentful eyes, Shen Yun also knew that this appointment was a bit early. Sorry, I wasted a little time, Shen Yun said, looking at the two people. It's okay, we just came here. Sit down quickly, you haven't eaten yet. This is what we ordered, you can see if it suits your appetite, Aunt Hu said enthusiastically. Then let's talk while eating. Shen Yun looked at the two people's enthusiasm and was embarrassed to refuse. He symbolically picked up a bun and started to eat it. It's like this. We have found suppliers for all the materials we need, and I also went to Nanfang Pengcheng to find cosmetics manufacturers for inspection. If the follow-up is suitable, we can also introduce mechanized production. And who said? He said, handing the information to Shen Yun, take a look, this is the details and plan of our cooperation. If there are any problems, then we can discuss it. Shen Yun finished the buns in 2 mouthfuls, wiped his hands, and took the information directly. This was carefully prepared by others, and he couldn't explain it without reading it. The above is very detailed. In the future, they plan not only to produce medicines, but also skincare products. They plan to sell medicines at low prices and skincare products at normal prices. In this way, the money earned in the future can not only continue to produce medicines, but also be used for introduce equipment and recruit talents. Shen Yun understands this very well. After all, even if you do charity, you need funds to continue doing it for a long time. Since Anhu has already thought of a way to make money, she doesn't have to worry about this problem. At most, she will need more money in the future. It's a little more troublesome. Anyway, there are a lot of psychic grass in the space. In addition, as the spiritual energy in the space increases, the spiritual energy overflows to form a small stream, which is enough for Shen Yun. Shen Yun then looked down and saw the investment method. The initial capital investment was from Anhu's side, and he was Fang's shareholder. The balance other than expenses in the later period was divided into 28 points, with Shen Yun's 8 and Anhu's 2nd. The former Shen Yun didn't have any objections. The other party had gone through in-depth investigation. Anhu was also a veteran of shopping malls, so there was no problem at all. However, this distribution is a bit unreasonable. Shen Yun pointed to the other party at 28 points. Don't you agree? Anhu looked at the position pointed by Shen Yun and suddenly became nervous. I didn't think carefully about this. Look at this, we will not participate in the dividends of the later balance, this will all belong to you. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 198. Chapter 198, 198, this girl likes to engage in superstition. No, that's not what I meant. Shen Yun was stunned for a moment. Although he was a little poorer, he was not so greedy. What I meant was that you got too little. After all, the initial investment and the subsequent factory management were all. If I need you, I will give you a recipe. I feel sorry for sharing so much. You can't say that. Your prescription is the core thing. Without your prescription, this matter wouldn't be possible. Don't belittle yourself. And who couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when she heard this question. As long as you don't dislike giving too little, that's fine. In this case, I don't understand business management myself. All these things need to be done by you. Let's discuss the division. Although Shen Yun was holding the prescription, the other party was so sincere when he came up. If he took it for granted, that would be a bit much. In this way, let's divide it 37, and I'll take an extra portion, and I'll save this portion and donate it to some burn patients who really can't afford medical treatment. What do you think? Then I will take out 2 portions and add them to the top. Shen Yun also said. Okay, let's do it like this. I'll change the contract first. Let's formally sign the contract, and we will have a friendly cooperative relationship from now on. Anhu was very happy, and she took out a pen and paper from her bag and started to change the content of the contract. He changed it after a while and handed it to Shen Yun. Look, if there are no problems, then we have signed the contract and are ready to start. Shen Yun looked at it carefully and found that there was no problem. He signed his name directly. Anhu also took the contract and signed her name. The cultivator signing the contract is not like an ordinary contract. The contract was completed in an instant. actually formed a rule, and both of them were stunned for a moment. Hu Yan looked at the two stunned people and waved her hand between them. What's wrong with you two? It's okay, the contract we signed is very solid. I'm happy. Although Aunt Hu is not a cultivator, she suddenly had a feeling that if she violated the terms of the contract, she might be in trouble. It just so happened that she was cooperating with Shen Yun sincerely, so she was very happy to see such a scene. Looking at Shen Yun's expression just now, she probably felt the same as herself just now. Then are you happy to cooperate? This is a recipe. This is a core material. It is made with special techniques and special materials. I have noted the proportions on the recipe. You can add it according to the proportion. Of course, if it's a skincare product, I suggest you add a little less, so the effect won't be too scary. Shen Yun took his backpack directly, which contained about 10 kilograms of refined spiritual spring water and psychic grass. Mix liquids. And who looked at what Shen Yun brought out and was stunned for a moment, then she understood. After all, with such a good recipe, it was understandable that the other party would hide the core content. Okay, I'll take that thing back. I'll check the production progress and quantity later, and then I'll order the quantity with you. And who didn't say anything. After the two people finished talking, they wiped out the breakfast on the table, and then separated here. And who took the things Shen Yun gave her and got into a car outside. Shen Yun and Hu Yan walked towards the school gate. I thought you were stupid enough to hand over everything. Yes, you know how to hide something. Hu Yan looked at Aunt Hu walking away and whispered to Shen Yun. It's not that I'm hiding this, but that I'm the only one who can do this at the moment, and I really don't see anyone else who can do it. Shen Yun was also helpless, but it seemed a little unexplainable. Okay, I don't blame you. There are several business people in my family. I can tell you the truth that what you did is right. Don't look at it. That's my aunt. You are talking about business. Don't pay attention to me. Hu Yan was very open-minded and did not stand by her just because Shen Yun was working with her aunt. Instead, she was very protective of Shen Yun, who had experienced this kind of thing for the first time. Okay, that's really a lesson, Shen Yun said with a smile. Who are we to be good sisters? If anything like this happens in the future, call me and I will check it for you. I don't understand. There are many people in my family who understand this, Hu Yan said in a comprehensive manner. Shen Yun I could only smile and agree. The two of them separated at the school gate, and Shen Yun walked towards home. Shen Yun was thinking about this cooperation, and planned to go back and refine a little more of the mixture of psychic grass and spiritual spring water, so that he would not have to refine it piecemeal in the future, which would be quite troublesome if he was busy and had no time. Hey, Shen Yun, are you Shen Yun? A person walked towards him and called him Shen Yun. She looked up and saw that it wasn't Teacher Su Zhang. Teacher Su, I am Shen Yun. You are not on a business trip, Shen Yun greeted. Teachers like Su Zhang are either doing archaeology or on the way to archaeology. It is really rare to see him outside the school. I even often couldn't see him when I took his class before. Hey, this is not about going on a business trip. Go back and pack some things. I heard from your counselor that you also applied for graduation this year. I read the paper you wrote some time ago and it was very good. By the way, this business trip is to bring your graduation with you. We are in the same class, if not you, Su Zhang asked enthusiastically, thinking about that time in Zikan. If it weren't for Shen Yun and the others, their lives would have been difficult to save, and they would have been there for a long time. Shen Yun also gave them talismans in the past. Although I thought this girl liked to engage in superstition before, but now I think about it, the talisman Shen Yun gave me at that time should have some special function, otherwise I wouldn't feel comfortable wearing it. Phew. At the time I thought it was an illusion, but when I think about the issue of aura that I am talking about now, it may not be an illusion. I really want to go, but because I applied to graduate early, I have a lot of classes to attend every day. It's okay if I take a day or two off, but it won't make sense if it takes a long time. Shen Yun wanted to go and attend classes all day. Even as a golden elixir cultivator, I have a headache. This time I don't mind wasting my time when I go out for internship. I have read your paper. I have understood all the knowledge in the book and even expanded it. It doesn't matter whether you go to class or not. You might as well practice it. After graduation, you can work better in the archaeological team. Su Zhang is not a stickler for rules. Hearing what Shen Yun said, he immediately gave some advice. Well, I'll write you a note when you get back, and you can write an application yourself and hand it over directly to your counselor at the end of the semester. Just come back and take the exam. What do you think? Really, thank you, Teacher Su, Shen Yun said happily. In this way, Shen Yun got on the bus to Western Province in the afternoon. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 199. Chapter 199, 199, Frightened Halfway. There were 3 teachers in the car who were the main force this time. They were seconded from Western Province to help. The rest were all students who were about to graduate and had gained experience through internships in the past. A dozen young men and women were in high spirits when they first set off. They were worried about the 3 teachers in front of them, but they were all excitedly discussing the trip behind them. Apart from being a little familiar with a few teachers, Shen Yun really didn't know anyone else. However, the people who could go on internships with the teachers were not nameless people. They were all influential figures in the university, and their grades were among the top. Therefore, although Shen Yun was not bad looking, everyone looked at Shen Yun curiously and did not pay too much attention to Shen Yun. Shen Yun was also happy to have some leisure time, so he directly found a seat at the back, silently began to work on his mental methods, and began to practice. As soon as Shen Yun came to his senses, he heard the people in front of him saying that he was too aloof. What do you mean by ignoring others and pretending to be asleep? Shen Yun opened his eyes and looked at the childish-looking college students in front of him who had just left the society. He patted the chair in front of him and said, "Hello, I heard you say that I pretend to be asleep. You also want to learn this skill?" A few people were stunned immediately, and their faces turned red with embarrassment. It was probably the first time they met Shen Yun like this, and they exposed it directly to their face. "Don't worry, we just talked casually, sorry." When several people saw Shen Yun like this, they felt magnanimous and apologized directly to Shen Yun. "It's okay. Don't talk behind people's backs next time. Things are different now than before. There are people with bad tempers, and you will be in trouble." Shen Yun had seen cultivators with bad tempers in his previous life. At that time, it was Ji Momo who slapped her, and she was deeply impressed. Yes, yes, yes. Although Shen Yun looked young, the tone of his words still did not appear to be a joke. After this incident, several people got to know each other and started chatting briefly. Only then did they realize that Shen Yun was also a student of their Beijing University, the same student who graduated early with them. They had heard about it from their teacher before. However, this is the first time I have seen it. Although they are all the proud ones, I still admire Shen Yun when he graduates at such a young age. They never imagined that these things were learned by Shen Yun in his previous life, and that he would benefit from them in this life. A few people were happily chatting about professional knowledge when suddenly the car suddenly stopped and Shen Yun grabbed the 2 people in the front seat. "What happened?" One voice after another rang in the carriage. Shen Yun watched the 2 people in front of him sit firmly and walked all the way to the front. He directly helped the person who fell to the ground up, and then went to the teachers in front. 3 teachers suffered from motion sickness due to their age. This time they were hit harder when sitting in the front than in the back. Some had injuries to their heads and hands, and some had injuries to their arms. Shen Yun helped the person up and took his backpack over. In it was the medical bag he had just taken out from space. It was issued by the special department when he went on a mission last year. Take care of the teacher's wound and let me check the situation. Shen Yun looked at the girls next to him and handed the medical bag to them directly. It only takes a few tens of seconds to complete these things. Shen Yun looked directly ahead and found nothing. What happened to the driver? Shen Yun looked at the driver with a panicked expression, as if he had been frightened. Suddenly something ran under the car just now. It must have crushed it. The driver looked at Shen Yun next to him, stood up in panic and wanted to get out of the car to take a look. Shen Yun was a little confused. Did he hit someone? Otherwise, an experienced driver wouldn't be so panicked. I followed the driver and walked downstairs. As soon as I got downstairs, I saw that the car had indeed crushed something. I was scared to death. I thought I hit someone, but it turned out to be a monkey. It's okay. A few people came down quickly to help. The driver looked at the scene below and breathed a sigh of relief. Shen Yun frowned as he looked at it. This monkey was no ordinary monkey. It had some aura on it. According to the records on the tree, such a monkey was considered a spiritual beast. How could it be pinned down by a car? Shen Yun turned around and saw that the little monkey had been crushed to its feet, but the wounds on its body were not just wounds caused by the car. The consciousness was released in an instant, and the movement in the forest not far away was immediately visible. Everyone get back in the car. Shen Yun looked at the people getting off the car and shouted immediately. Everyone who was getting out of the car was immediately stunned. Then without Chen Yun's reminder, he heard a rustling sound moving quickly towards the side. Everyone looked towards the source of the sound and saw a group of monkeys climbing quickly over the treetops, as if something was chasing behind them. Hurry up and get in the car. Why are you still standing there? Shen Yun couldn't help scolding them when he saw 2 people standing there looking at the excitement. These are just a few monkeys. There shouldn't be any danger. Didn't there be a little monkey underneath? Did these monkeys come to save him? Everyone looked at Shen Yun's attitude and was very unhappy. They were originally worried about Shen Yun's account. Some students had some objections when they got a place for a classmate. They heard Shen Yun talking loudly and became even more unhappy. It's not these monkeys that are dangerous, it's the bees chasing them. If you want to believe it, just get in the car and close the door. If you don't believe it, feel free. Shen Yun had no time to care about them now. Looking at the group of monkeys passing by quickly, Shen Yun said with a gentle cast, the little monkey whose foot was pinned immediately ran out from under the car. Regardless of his foot injury, he cupped his hands towards Shen Yun and quickly ran towards the woods on the other side. We didn't see anything, but your eyes are better than others. What a bee, I think you're bluffing. Some people believed what Shen Yun said, while others didn't. The man who just spoke stood there. Outside, he held his arms and continued to deal with Shen Yun. Shen Yun didn't care about him and directly got himself a spiritual energy mask. The bus next to him also got one. The group of bees in the back that seemed to have had their honey stolen looked like they were red-eyed. A group of bees buzzed towards them quickly. Come over here. Each one is as long as half a finger. You can imagine what it would be like to take a bite of these things. The people who stayed under the car couldn't see Shen Yun's aura shield. They saw Shen Yun still standing leisurely. They didn't take Shen Yun's warning to heart. Instead, they stayed under the car as if they were watching a good show. When a group of buzzing black clouds moved quickly towards the side, these few people wanted to get on the bus, but they were squeezed underneath. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 200. Chapter 200, 200, Spirit Bee. I just asked you to run away, and I thought I was harming you. Now it's up to you four to see who can squeeze through who." Shen Yun stood aside and watched the jokes of several people. "Don't be too crowded. The queues will come faster one by one." The driver, who listened to the advice, got on the bus first. Now he saw several people trying to get up, and he couldn't help but ordered anxiously. Unfortunately, although a few people realized that the queue was faster, no one wanted to be at the back of the queue. After all, the dark swarm of bees over there was approaching. Although no one messed with these bees, who knew if these things would go crazy and have the sense to distinguish who is the enemy or sting whomever they don't like. Everyone hurriedly crowded into the car. Shen Yun stopped the bee who was trying to get into the car. "Let me meet you." Shen Yun started to get started directly. Most of them were ordinary bees, but there were a few that were particularly large. Their wings were shiny and they also had spiritual energy on their bodies. They should have been entered the advanced level of spiritual beast. No wonder the group of monkeys ran away just now. Although the bees are small, there are many spiritual beasts. Although the monkeys are big, there are really only a few spiritual beasts. Chen Yun used his spiritual energy to control a spirit bee. Looking at the spirit bees scurrying around on his palm, Chen Yun thought and saw the spirit bees disappearing from the palm of his hand. The spirit bees appeared directly in the space. The spirit bees that had just entered the space Fen was stunned for a moment, and quickly adapted to the rich spiritual energy in the space. He turned around in a circle and flew directly towards the blooming spiritual plant. "It seems that I am not far away from harvesting a piece of spiritual honey." Shen Yun looked at the swarm of enraged bees outside, and started working with both hands, grabbing the smart bees directly. Everyone on the bus saw a lot of bees crawling on the bus. As for Shen Yun, he was almost invisible because of the bees. "This girl is just asking people to get in the car. Why don't you get up? It's best if nothing happens." Su Zhang's wounds were bandaged by now, and he said worriedly as he leaned towards the window. "The swarm outside is composed of giant wild wasps, which are different from ordinary bees. This kind of thing is more powerful and difficult to deal with. Teacher, what should I do? How about we go down and help?" Su Zhang was surrounded by a circle of people who had been rescued by Shen Yun when the car came to an emergency stop. "Teacher, I think she can handle it by herself. If we open the door and bees come in, wouldn't we be in trouble? Otherwise, we have to look at the situation outside." The shocked classmates who had just come up heard the classmate wanted to open the door and go down to help, so he immediately said to the side, "Be prepared first, wait a moment and see if something goes wrong, and be ready to go and rescue people at any time." Su Zhang didn't care about the attitudes of these people, and looked directly at where Shen Yun was standing with concern. Although it looks scary, Shen Yun's condition seems to be pretty good at the moment. There shouldn't be any big problems. It's better not to let people go over and cause trouble. Shen Yun is concentrating on dealing with this spirit bee, and has no time to pay attention to the thoughts of everyone in the car. Let's wait until almost all the spiritual bees below have been caught. Shen Yun slowly stopped his hand and cast a gust of wind to blow away all the bees climbing on the bus. He watched a swarm of bees buzzing here. She began to guide the bees that got lost along the way to continue their hatred. "After all, it was the monkeys who provoked you, not people like us." Shen Yun watched as most of the bees left. There were still a few smart bees that buzzed around Shen Yun as if they had discovered what Shen Yun had done to steal the bees, but refused to get out of the way. Shen Yun looked at these smart bees and suddenly had an idea. "Teacher, please wait here for a moment. I will go over to see the cause of the bee riot, so that other people will not be in trouble if they are stared at when they pass by. Can you do it alone? Why don't you come up quickly, otherwise you will definitely swell up if you get bitten," Su Zhang said anxiously in the car. "Teacher, I had no problem dealing with those bees just now. Don't worry now, I'll go over and have a look," Shen Yun quickly explained. Su Zhang saw that Shen Yun had made up his mind and could only tell him to be careful. Shen Yun grabbed a spiritual bee and led the way, followed by several violent spiritual bees trying to pass through Shen Yun's spiritual energy barrier, but unfortunately one of them failed. Shen Yun's speed was very fast, and the bee following him did not fall behind. Not long after walking, I saw many large beehives hanging on each tree. At this time, the bees may have gone to chase the monkeys, and the defense here is particularly weak. Shen Yun rubbed his fists and palms, directly selected a few honeycombs with rich spiritual energy, cut them and stuffed them into the space. Isolated the bee stings and left here quickly. The bees were left behind. Back at the bus, there were no traces of bees, but no one dared to get out of the bus easily. Teacher Su, look, she's back. Shen Yun was still far away when he heard the excited sounds in the car. Just come back, quickly open the door and leave here, let's go. Su Zhang greeted everyone. Teacher Su, wait a moment. Shen Yun was not in a hurry to get on the bus. When he walked to the other side, he saw a little monkey standing there holding a small jar. Shen Yun could tell at a glance that this was the little monkey who had just been pushed under the car. I don't know how it escaped from the pursuit of the bees, and now it's back here. Little monkey, are you waiting for me? Shen Yun asked, looking at the little monkey that jumped in front of him. Zhizhizi, the little monkey called out and made gestures. Shen Yun didn't understand it anyway, but he handed the thing in his hand towards him and he understood it. Are you going to give this to me? Shen Yun asked uncertainly. Unexpectedly, the little monkey nodded, pushed the jar directly in front of him, and left here quickly. Shen Yun looked at the two fist-sized small jars at the bottom, picked them up directly, and smelled the tangy aroma of wine rushing straight to his face. It seems that the little monkey gave him some wine as a gift, but he just doesn't know if this is monkey wine. Shen Yun took advantage of his position so that no one could see him, so he directly put his things into the space, turned around and walked towards the bus. I've been riding down there for a long time. If I hadn't been waiting for you, we would have set off a long time ago. The teachers are all injured. We need to go over and have a look. As soon as Shen Yun got in the car, the voice just now began to have a presence again. Shen Yun looked up steadily. The person opposite was immediately frightened by Shen Yun's eyes. Coward, Shen Yun said silently. After speaking, he turned around and sat next to a few teachers. Teacher, are you okay? Shen Yun had just determined that the injuries of several teachers were not serious, so he handed over the wounds to others to deal with. It's okay, it just looks scary. I'll take care of it so it won't delay my work, Su Zhang said, shaking his arms. Among the others, he was the more seriously injured. His wrist was sprained. He probably needed to rest for a few more days, but it wasn't a big problem. End of this chapter.